Everyone tells me they want SEO, and then they're like, hey, I'm at 2 million. I want to do 4 million next year. And, we've got 8 months left in the year. And SEO is not going to get you there. So if you really want to make up a $2 million gap in the next 8 months, you should hammer every dollar that you have towards an ad campaign to generate the most immediate results possible. And then we can look into scaling into SEO, because if I sell you SEO, you're going to fucking hate me. You're going to be roasting me on the Facebook pages. This guy's a scam.
All right, welcome out to the Roofing Explained Poorly podcast, or the Rep podcast. I am super excited today to have a really good friend on, Mr. Michael Stearns from Ascend Digital Agency. Michael, welcome to the show. Yeah, crowd goes wild.
Yeah. What's up, man? Thanks for having me, Jay. Appreciate you.
Hey, man. I appreciate you. I know you're a busy man. I appreciate you taking time out to get on my little podcast here. It's going to be simple, man. We asked 6 questions. I just I'm going to come up with a few questions for you, just throw them at you, and you just kind of fill it out and just try to have fun with it. That's it.
Let's do it.
All right, buddy. Okay, so first and foremost, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Where you live now? How you got into Ascend? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm from Buffalo, New York, the greatest city that North America knows. I live in Buffalo, New York. Once again, the greatest city. My first exposure to marketing for a roofing company was handing out flyers when I was like 15. When I was paid, I got a big box of flyers and go hand these out at the homes. So I was putting them in mailboxes. I got scolded for that. Like, you can't go into people's mailboxes. It's like, put them in the doors. And I thought to myself, like, why wouldn't you just get like a door hanger? Whatever. So I handed out the flyers, most of them anyway. I didn't hand them all out. That's on me. I've grown as a person though.
Nice.
And so when I studied political science in school, when I got out of school, I wanted to do sales, and I ended up selling for a marketing agency. We landed on some irreconcilable differences after some time, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot on my own and test my theories, and it's worked out well. And that's when Ascend was born.
Nice. Now you're one of the top dogs in the roofing space, and
you're gonna make a boy blush.
Yeah, man, I know. The companies that I've sent your way are super happy with what you've done, and I appreciate you taking good care of them, and that means a lot. So let me ask the first question. So usually I ask, while you're out door knocking, what's the strangest thing you've ever seen in the field? But I know that you kind of did some call center stuff too. So what is just the weirdest thing in your sales career that you've seen, maybe in the field or on the phone?
The weirdest thing I've seen in sales or on the phone. I mean, it's a really good question, Jay. I'm trying to dig through, 15 years of experience, and nothing jumps out the page at me. For context, in my call center days, it was while I was in college, I was doing collections. So we're cold calling people for past due bills or things that they had that they owed that they no longer had anymore. And it was a challenging job. I was good at it. I'm trying to think. I mean, you get the garden variety of people eloquently telling you to go fuck yourself every time you call them in very spirited ways, right? So initially that was weird and jarring, and you become very desensitized to that rather quickly if you're going to continue to do that job, right?
Yeah. Did you ever catch a titty is the question.
What's that?
Did you ever catch a titty?
I don't know what that is.
Catch a titty.
Just a titty?
Yeah. Usually it's a naked story of some sort. So...
Not in sales, although I was driving down a pretty busy road in Buffalo maybe like 6 years ago. And I was driving past like a bus stop, and this woman revealed herself, and I thought that was interesting.
Were you driving the Porsche at the time?
I was not driving the Porsche. I was driving a Nissan Altima.
The Porsche that I rode in while I was there would make me probably just pop a titty every once in a while. Just,
she was a good one. R.I.P.
What do you have now? So you got rid of it. It's completely gone. What'd you get?
Yeah, I got an Infiniti QX80.
Nice.
It's with the baby. It's just easier, man. More space. The Porsche was cool, but it's the cockpit that was problematic. There's no room for anything. Like even the middle console, an inch and a half, 2 inches deep, I feel, and you couldn't fit much in there. And I've always got a lot of shit that I need within arm's reach. So that was the main reason where I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
That's awesome. So I'm going to kind of steer this a little bit towards your way. What is the one mistake that you see most roof contractors make with their website? What is the one thing that's like, dude, y'all keep doing it?
I gotta boil it down to one. Man.
The top dog.
So I think it's with who they select to build their website. I think that's if I had to boil it down to one thing, it's who they've chosen to build their website, because that kind of dovetails into a lot of different things, right? So just poorly built site with just stock images, nothing personalized to compel that person to ultimately click through, submit their information, and become a customer. Like, you're setting the stage for the relationship when they come to your website, and everything that they feel inherently when they land on that site and while they're engaging with your content or lack thereof is super critical, because homeowners don't trust roofers, and you want to use that as an opportunity to gain their trust, to build your credibility. A lot of times what you'll see is the iconic shortcut, which is, hey, we're a roofing company and we've got a homepage and about us and a roofing page. And then you'll see, here's all the services we offer. And there's really not much information relevant to that service. So if I'm a homeowner and I'm looking for, a storm damage assessment, and I just see that as a bullet point or 17 syllables after that bullet point, you haven't really given me much value as far as deciding I should choose you versus the next company. Versus if you have a storm damage assessment page with curated content specific to my experience, the challenge that I'm facing and what I want to become more informed about, it gives you a better opportunity to convince me to ultimately view you as an authority and trust your company to come out to my home and assess the situation. That happens too often.
When you're dealing with contractors, for me, when I go train roofing contractors, there's things that I'm surprised that they don't know, like acquisition costs, right? Not that they don't know their acquisition costs, they just don't even know the math, right? With some of the folks that I work with. So in the website space, there's things like, when I was with you, I learned the importance of backlinks, right? And how important the backlinks are to the website. What is a term that you have to give to every person you work with? What is something that is just like everybody you think knows it, but you don't know what you don't know, right? Or they don't know what they don't know. Like, is there a term in your world that a lot of folks just don't know what it is, or you have to explain it?
SEO.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of tongue in cheek, but when folks reach out to figure out SEO, it's a buzzword. They see everyone online posting about it, hear everyone talking about it and all the great success they've had and the horror stories, unfortunately. And it's not a fixed cost where it's every SEO company. You're going to get ranges of $500 to $15,000 a month and everything in between. And when you lack an understanding of like what an SEO strategy is and what you're buying, it makes it really next to impossible to make an informed decision and feel confident in what you're choosing. So that's why on our intake process, we take more of an educational approach to help people better understand, like, okay, what's your situation? Everyone tells me they want SEO. And then they're like, hey, I'm at 2 million. I want to do 4 million next year. And we've got 8 months left in the year. And SEO is not going to get you there. So if you really want to make up a $2 million gap in the next 8 months, you should hammer every dollar that you have towards an ad campaign to generate the most immediate results possible. And then we can look into scaling into SEO, because if I sell you SEO, you're going to fucking hate me. You're going to be roasting me on the Facebook pages. This guy's a scam. It's like, no, I just gave you what you paid for. I could do that and I wouldn't feel good about it though. Right. So, SEO is one, cost per lead, cost per appointment, cost per acquisition, right? What does it cost? Because ultimately the cost per acquisition is what matters. Yeah. The indicators that lead up to that are important too, but the most important is how many dollars are you trading for a signed contract or for a job? Because when you can figure out, okay, it cost me this to acquire a customer, we made this much money when it was all said and done. Now you have a scalable equation where you can start to say, okay, I want to do 3x that. When I do it through this marketing medium. So for instance, for canvassers, it's costing me this. When a sales rep acquires a self-gen, it's costing me this. When Google Ads generates me an opportunity, the customers cost me this versus local services versus SEO versus Facebook advertising versus my call center leads. Now you've got a big picture of, all right, well, Facebook has sucked for us. And a lot of people say reallocate that right away. Sometimes inherently there's just something broken there, right? Where you can revisit that marketing medium. We haven't done a good job getting quality content out. We haven't refreshed our ads in 3 months. So I'd say start there. But if you're noticing a trend of consistently a channel underperforming, I would allocate less dollars there and reinvest into the ones that are ultimately performing well. The problem is, listen, I'm gonna throw shade at some of you roofers right now. Y'all don't do a good job having clean data. So you go into your CRM and nothing is fucking accurately documented. Nobody knows anything. I scratch my head there because that's how people feel when they log into your CRM. They're like, so if you wanted to pull a report, ideally you could identify in a few keystrokes what out of all of our leads, which ones have come from Google, from Facebook, from knocking, and you could paint a really clean picture to understand these are our total leads. These are the ones that we closed. So what percentage of the leads are you closing and why? Is it a lead quality issue? Is it a sales process issue? And you don't know because you don't have the data that's necessary to make that determination. So like the data is super important. So having a way to attribute your leads to what channel they came from, obviously critical. Here's one mistake I was very surprised to learn that people made early on in my career. They were only adding leads that they scheduled as appointments. Nothing else made it into the CRM, right? And I thought to myself, I'm like, well, if 90% of your leads that are calling in that you're paying for aren't booking with you, you have no way to track that. Why would you ever want to do that? And especially if you're doing multi-platform marketing where some leads are coming from here versus here versus here, you want to understand, if I get 100 leads from Facebook, are 10 of them booking? Are 70 of them booking? Because your strategy for the coming weeks, months, and year should be tailored based off that information, right?
Absolutely. And I'm going to push back a little on you on this scenario of the company going from, 2 million to 4 million, because for me, with the companies I work with, right, we're all about door knocking. We're the front end people. We're recruiting. Sure. With a bad website, it's hard for them to go 2 million to 4 million because no matter what, there's one common denominator of large companies, large amounts of people. Right. They have enough people, they have enough people, enough mouths talking about them, right, where they make more money. And the websites that you've built have helped those companies recruit, even in that short period of time while the SEO maybe is working and doing its thing. If they're still running Indeed ads, because my thing is you got to recruit every day, wake up to recruit. It's sure. Like if with a killer baller website like what Ascend makes, like it makes it so much easier to recruit because people go and look and see that you're the real deal. You're the top notch. So the design and look of your websites, like, do you ever think about that? Like somebody that's looking at that company to potentially work for in that sense? Like, have you seen the how important that is? Because I know on my end, it's like wildly important.
Yeah, I mean, think about it just like anything else. It's your digital storefront. So if you were having somebody out to your brick and mortar and the windows are broken, there's empty beer cans everywhere, and it looks like there's a 4-day bender going on, like the likelihood that they feel confident about your ability to set them up for success is going to be supremely limited, right?
Right.
So yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And that definitely helps as far as the credibility from employer to prospective employee is concerned, but you can have one without the other. We can build you a website while not starting with SEO and start hammering ads that are ultimately going to drive revenue sooner than SEO. So you can get the best of both worlds, get that site, do your recruiting, do all the things that are important to the company as far as exposure and conversion. And then when the time comes, most people have a finite budget for marketing. It's not 100% of what the dollars they bring in, they can spend on marketing. Usually it's somewhere between like 3 and 8 is where people land. So yeah, in a perfect world, we do ads, we do SEO, we do Facebook, we'd hire more canvassers and knockers and all these things. But a lot of the times people are precluded by budget or limited by budget. So you take a look and say, okay, ideally we would do all this, but what's going to be the highest leverage and yield opportunities based on what we know we can spend and what aligns with our goals and actually gets us from point A to point B.
Yeah, love it. And a website to me is just so crucial, even though RoofNut's website is awful. And one day I'm going to be like, Mike, please work on my website. But
and I'll be waiting there just like this.
We were getting ready for the Rep podcast, and he was trying to book on my site, and my site broke. And I was like, this is perfect timing. This is just perfect.
The irony is overwhelming.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Okay, so 2 more. And these are just fun ones, man. Just think outside the box. If you had a rapper name, what would your rapper name be?
Lil Rockets.
Little Rockets. I like that with the Ascend logo. That's nice.
Yes, sir.
I like it. What was the place you took me to go get that steak? Where was that?
Buffalo Chop House.
Yo, anybody goes to Buffalo?
Yeah, you got to pull up to the Chop House, especially if you like a ribeye. A nice like 60-day aged, dry aged ribeye with a nice rub on it, and then they char it in the oven, so it's nice pink inside and crusty exterior. I mean, I tell you, it hits different. It
does, and those scalloped potatoes are next level too, man. God.
Shout out to Hannah; she put me onto those.
I'm about to get up to Buffalo just so I can get some more of that. So, last question. I'm changing this one up a little bit, but I really want to get this from people. Like in days that you're not having your best day, right? Your character building days. Is there A, something you do, B, a quote you listen, goes through your head? Like, what is it that gets you out of your character building days?
I love this question. So it aligns nicely with the meeting we had this morning. So every Tuesday we have Teach It Tuesdays here at Ascend, where we get the team together and you teach the team something about yourself, personally, professionally, a random fact, doesn't matter. Just teach something. And I told a story for Teach It Tuesday today. I said, okay, so you've got 3 bricklayers, right? And one of the bricklayers, you walk up to him. Let's say his name's Tim. You walk up to Tim. What are you doing, Tim? Laying bricks. All right. Then we go to Tom. Tom's the second bricklayer. Hey, Tom, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you, Mike? I'm good. What are you doing? I'm building a wall. Then you got a third bricklayer. His name is Jimothy. You go, Jimothy, how are you? What are you up to? He's like, building a cathedral. And, he's only 8 bricks in, right? So the wall's not done yet, but he's got vision. He gets it, right? So he's not getting tied down to the task level. He's still seeing the big picture. And I feel for me personally, a lot of the times when I'm feeling a certain type of way, it's because I'm tied too much and married to the task in the moment and not taking a step back to see the big picture. And that relates to stuff for Ascend, stuff in personal relationships and development, right? Like you get so focused on the micro, you lose sight of the macro. So for me, moving forward, I'm going to be more conscious of that and make an assertive effort to take a step back when I start feeling those ways and realize like what part of the journey this is going to fulfill when we get there. Like this is just a small component of this, but like we're doing something really fucking important here. And whether that's being a father, a brother, an uncle, building a website, delivering an ad campaign, talking to a customer, that's how I plan to deal with it.
That is really cool story. I made a video day before yesterday. Cody Sanchez, the young lady. Have you seen her or heard from her?
Yep.
Cody Sanchez talked about her dad, said that, if you didn't sit in your living room with your head in your hands, not knowing what to do next during a moment when you're in business, then you're not pushing hard enough, right? You're not trying to go to the next level. And so I made a video the other day that's close to what that is. But in my head, I thought back to all my businesses, there's always been a moment. The first moment when I had my head in my hands was like, how am I going to pay my bills? Right? Like that was the first, like laying the brick. Right. And then the next moment was like, okay, now I got to a certain position where now people are starting to work for me. And how am I going to help pay their bills? Right. My head's back in my hands and maybe it's building a wall. Right. And then ultimately the last part was like, and I've done this a couple of times and been super blessed. Like you put your head in your hands and you're just thankful for the journey. And, getting to thankful is so important. And that's kind of the cathedral. And just thinking about, man, just having that big vision and just trying to get to thankful, trying to get to the cathedral, like that's dope. Looking down the road and not getting stuck at the task in hand. So I really like that a lot. So
I appreciate that, man. That was a great analogy, by the way.
That was really good. So I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you taking a little time out of your day to spend with me. And
Of course.
hopefully I'll come up to Buffalo here before too long. I want to come up there and get another steak and come see you, man. I really enjoyed the time up there. Appreciate the hospitality while I was up there.
Yeah, man, we do the best we can. You're always welcome. I'm one call away. And what inspired the podcast?
So just thinking outside the box and me wanting to get to meet more people in the industry, really get face to face with people that I don't know. You know, you and I have obviously been together and done a podcast together, and, you know, you made me look really good. I'll try to do the best I can. Maybe I can get Christian. I'll pay him a couple bucks or whatever. But you know me, man, I think building a personal brand in this industry, I'm working on something called From Operator to Authority is going to be my next coaching and training package that I'm going to sell. And ultimately what I want to do with roofing contractors is show them how to go from operator to the authority in their local area. And how do you do that? You've got to build a personal brand. And that brand doesn't necessarily have to be Bob, right? But if Bob has Bob's Roofing, then Bob's Roofing needs to be the personal brand. And it needs to become the authority in your area. Unless you want to storm chase forever, whoever becomes the authority in the area is the one that ends up winning. And so we're going to do that from operator to authority, and that'll be kind of my next training that I do. And so for me, I like to hear stories like you. And whenever I talk to somebody like you, it only helps me with my contracts have more knowledge of things like websites and backlinks and who to go with and who not to go with and what to look for. So I just try to spread my knowledge out, and if I can do that while we're also helping my personal brand, because it's no secret, right? The more I'm on the TV, the more I'm on social media, the more sales I make. Yeah. No qualms about it. And so that's what we try to do. So
yeah, I love that, man. All right, I got a bunch of other questions, but I won't bog you down.
Oh no, you're fine. Hey, that man. Let's get some content. I'm in for it.
But, what's the biggest difference between traveling in the north and traveling in the south?
Well, it depends on what month, obviously, with weather.
Let's exclude weather.
Okay, so excluding weather. Minnesota people are just like Mississippi people, which is an interesting thing. If you go to Minnesota and you go to Mississippi, the hospitality is just as good in Minnesota as it is in Mississippi. And I think there's a common misconception about folks from the north that they're not as hospitable as what they are in the south. I think that is completely incorrect. I had a great time while I was in Buffalo, met a lot of nice people, right? Everybody talks about everybody in New York's, at least down here, people talk about people in New York not being as nice as we are. Well, I call BS on that, because you go to Atlanta and it's not nice in Atlanta. So I think it's people. You know, I'm a people person in general, and understanding the north from the south is really just a bunch of people that are out every day trying to do the best they can for their families and their future, and at least surrounding yourself with those type of people. I think that's probably the biggest difference, is a common misconception of people that don't travel from the north and the south. Let's put it that way.
For people that have a team of door knockers, what is the most frequent issue that you see within their company when they call you out to train them?
Compensation for the door knockers based off of the sale. Like, it causes such a problem between the door knockers and the way they feel about the salespeople. So let me give you an example. If I'm the door knocker and you're the salesperson, I go knock a door, and the lady's the nicest lady ever, and she begs for us to get on her roof. And you get on the roof and you find damage, but for some reason you just weren't able to close her at that moment. You weren't able to overcome an objection. Maybe there was a misunderstanding, whatever reason that you didn't close her, right? Then I'm going to feel jaded in some type of way. I will say the words, man, I could have got that one.
Yeah.
And you start having trouble between your knockers and your sales reps. So always pay your sales reps a flat fee per inspection. Like, if they get somebody on the roof, they get paid, no matter what the results are. Right. And then hold them accountable to their damage levels. So when the closers get on the roof, I set it up where the closers get on the roof, they have to put in the system whether it has damage or not. Then that holds my knockers accountable for, are they picking good roofs? And it also will hold my sales reps accountable. Well, if it has damage, did you close it, right? Now we know their closing percentage on roofs that had damage. a lot of people would try to judge their closers based off of leads that potentially, at least in the storm restoration world, may not have qualified to begin with.
Sure.
You could put a closer on 30 roofs that don't have damage, and it's not their fault. So accountability, I think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What percentage of so if there's damage, what's the closing percentage that you typically see?
Yeah, if there's damage, it's about 32%. If you took all leads in general across the board from all of my companies, the closing percentage is 19%. And that
Why is it so low?
No damage. I think because they take low hanging fruit and there's nobody to hold them accountable. That's probably the biggest thing, is the lack of accountability.
So it's not issues with the carrier approving it. It's predominantly self-inflicted.
Yeah, I mean, if you're picking good roofs and you're moving forward and you're doing things, there are issues with carriers, absolutely, and it's gotten tough here lately, 100%. I think if folks are not starting to lean towards financing, they're not thinking ahead, right? But in general, about 19%, because a lot of the reps will just take low-hanging fruit, and there's nobody there to hold them accountable because we don't have a system in place to hold them accountable. It's amazing. So my companies that I go in and I work with, and I don't think they'd be too upset about me telling them this, but a lot of their acquisition costs are above like $1,200, and they don't even know it until we actually go into their stuff and start doing the math. I mean, that is horrible. In my opinion, I want to be right around 750. I think 750 for acquisition costs is a great number. Now retail, you could probably get up to that 1,200 and that would be all right. But as far as restoration goes, 750 is about where you need to be.
Makes sense. That's all the questions I have. That's a staggeringly low number compared to what I would have thought. I would have thought it would be the other way. Instead of 20% close, I would assume it would be like 80% close.
I wish, man. Yeah, it's, the problem. So here's the issue that I have is people think that they want to start a door-to-door team without giving them the stepping stones to get to sales. And so they'll try to just hire knockers to just go knock. And so with my program, when I bring them in, it's like you knock and you hit this level, and then you get to start learning how to sell. And then you sell and you hit this level, and then you'll get those knockers leads. But you got to get to this level while you're selling. And so we give them stepping stones along the way. But there are some that raise their hand and go, hey, man, I just want to knock. Those are great, right? Those are great people because they're just going to stick around. They're going to knock. I mean, it is what it is. But too many people in our industry are hiring knockers to knock instead of hiring knockers to become salespeople.
Right.
So there's no progression for them through the.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think if you give people a path to move down as far as career and upward mobility, they're more likely to stick around. Yeah. And be excited about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Instead of thinking I'm going to be doing this shit the rest of my life. This is so terrible.
This is like I'm sitting here knocking all day long. And then a lot of them will get into sales and go, you know what? Knocking wasn't that bad. Let's go do that. Especially if you can make it to where somebody can make $100,000 knocking, then you're in good shape. And that's what I try to do. If somebody goes full-time knocking with us, we try to build the compensation plan to where it's like, yeah, man, go make $100,000. Go get us 20 leads for $100 every week and, make $2,000 a week. And then let's go, cash some checks. So
it's good shit, man.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy man, and really, really appreciate you taking time to be on this version of Roofing Explained Poorly, or the Rep Podcast. Michael, I appreciate you, brother.
Likewise, brother. We'll be in touch.
All right, buddy. Talk soon. Thanks, man.